everybody, I'm Tom Vasel.
Zee Garcia, what's happening?
Sam Healey, how you doing, folks?
It is the end of 2015. Well, the beginning of the end. We're in the month of December.
It's the beginning of the end.
No! We're in the month of December, so we're going to take some videos this month and take a look back at 2015. Now, our top 10 games will be coming soon, but I wanted to look at, there's some pretty obvious choices in the top 10s, and maybe not for you, but for me and Sam, I think some of them are more obvious, and even for you, I know some. I know what some of yours are.
Okay.
So we want to take a look at games that surprised us. Maybe games that we weren't expecting to be that good, and we played them and they're like, wow, this is really good. Mm-hmm. For me, none of these on my surprise list are in my top 10.
Spoiler! No, you're right. For me, none of them are as well.
So these are kind of 10 different games, but these are games that I went into not really knowing if I was going to like it, or I thought I would like it, and then I loved it. Mm-hmm. And I just ranked them from how much I liked them, really, I think, from beginning to end.
Pretty close.
Yeah, it's a combination for me of how much I like it and how surprising it was sometimes. Say, from the company that put out the game, it was not something I expected. Or it's a game that seemed very unassuming, but it came out and it was actually a very engaging game, that sort of thing.
Right.
My ranking was not really...
You split yours in two groups of 5?
No.
Oh.
Yeah, the first 5...
No.
Games
My ranking was not really how much... I think I enjoy all of these on pretty much the same level, but it was how much it surprised me, I guess.
I think we're going to have a lot... I think we'll have some crossover. Not a lot, because I don't have as many card games. Yours are probably 10 card games from Japan.
I'm expecting no more than 2 crossovers.
You think so?
I don't know. We'll see.
Well, it's time to find out.
Number 10.
All right, my number 10 is a 2-player game that can go up to 4 players, but it's really a 2-player game where one player takes the Norse mythology pantheon of gods and pits them against the Greek pantheon, Greek mythology pantheon. And then they also have an expansion out where the Egyptian pantheon is in there, and it's called High Heavens.
Wow.
And it is a game that I was not expecting a lot out of, and that's where my surprise factor comes in. Mm-hmm. I really enjoy this game.
This is the one made by the guy who made Guitar Hero?
Yep. Correct. Yeah. Ryan, is it Ryan? I can't remember his name now. Why did you put that in my head?
No, but I mean, that's one of the reasons that I thought the game wasn't good, because they're like, hey, it was made by the same guy who made Guitar Hero. Like, just because you're good at making video games doesn't make you good at making a board game. That sort of crossover doesn't... I mean, how many crossover guys do you know like that?
I didn't actually have that information beforehand, so that didn't play into... I've rarely played Guitar Hero, and so I didn't know who created Guitar Hero. So when I saw his name on the box, I didn't immediately think Guitar Hero. I just thought, okay, another game from another designer. So it's a really cool game where you the nice models. The plastics are kind of the softer kind of plastics. The models are the kind of softer plastic that get warped, and you have to warm them up and reshape them and all that kind of stuff. That's a minor quibble, but the game itself really was interesting. It's a card-driven game where you play down your god that activates the god in the high heaven battlefield, and has special abilities, a certain number of hit points, and all of this kind of stuff. And it's just a really cool back-and-forth game. Doesn't take very long, 30 to 45 minutes after you know what you're doing. And so it was a huge surprise. I really enjoyed it. That's High Heavens.
Cool.
My number 10 was a surprise that this was even made, even though it has the incorrect name of Star Wars Risk. Star Wars Risk. It sounds like the Star Wars Risk game, and I'm like, whatever, another cash-in. But this is more of a rehabilitation of the Star Wars Queen's Gambit game, even though it's much lighter, and it has to do with blowing up the Death Star, which is a lot of fun. You know, that's the thing that everyone wants to do, is have this battle where you're going in to blow up the Death Star. It works really well. It's easy, has some pretty cool little miniatures. It's a very inexpensive game, unless you buy the Amazon Black Box edition. But for the most part, I was just kind of surprised. And I think a lot of people are surprised. They're going to be surprised when they play this, because they're like, yay, Risk! Oh.
It's not Risk.
It's not Risk. And a lot of people aren't buying the game because they don't like Risk.
Right.
And they should... Terrible naming. But the game, I found a lot of fun, and just was a big surprise for me, really.
Cool. All right, my number 10 is a game that is a very solid family game, and the big surprise comes into it because of the company that put the game out. The game is New York 1901, and it was put out by Blue Orange Games that has normally and traditionally done kids games, largely.
I thought this would be like in your top 10, actually.
No, I mean, it was a tough year for the top 10. But we'll talk about that when we hit that top 10. But yeah, there's a lot of these games that could easily be on that top 10. And this is one of them. This is a very solid game. It's a clean, well-designed family game with interesting decisions, but not overwhelming decisions. And it's gorgeous. It does not look like a game from a company that's not used to doing this kind of game, and that's a surprise. And it's a slam dunk. I think it's a very good game. That is New York 1901.
Number 9.
All right, for my number 9, this is a board game from Istari and Asmodee, and that is Shakespeare. Now, Istari, for me, in the past, has always been up and down. Sometimes their games are good, sometimes they're not. You know, I'm never really quite sure how I like them. One thing for sure is I never thought of them as being a master of theme. Most of their games are fun-ish, but they're themeless. Shakespeare adds some pretty good theming into this game, and it also did a bunch of things in different ways that I haven't seen before. Sure, there's a whole bunch of collect this here, collect that there, but I felt like the whole I'm putting on a play, the artwork helps a lot, the unique theming helps a lot. This was just a game I was really surprised when even after reading the rules, it didn't occur to me that I'd be sticking it in my collection.
Yeah.
That's how much I liked it. And again, this is one of these years where there's so many games I'm adding to my collection, and I'm still not even in my top 10 here. But Shakespeare was just a really good game.
Yeah, and it's again a year that has had a lot of genres in it with strong games. Like, I mean, Shakespeare is through and through a Euro game.
Right.
A really, really strong one. All right, my number 9 is a game that I was not expecting too much from, except a whole lot of orange. The game is called Asking for Troubles. And
I talked to the guy at BGG Con, and he said, I'm making another game. I said, less orange, I hope. He's like, no, even more orange. No, you can't
it's just
do more.
an orange. It's a bag of clementines. This one is it's a worker placement game set in space. It's very tongue-in-cheek. The ship models that are your workers are clear winks and nods to popular IPs out there. The whole thing is pretty tongue-in-cheek, but under all of that, and under all of that graphic design that is very brave, I did not dislike it, but it is a very brave choice, having all that orange.
Once is enough, though.
Under all that is a pretty solid, interesting game that is not too heavy, but works well, and has some interesting mechanisms going on, and has some set collection that is fairly mundane, but everything else is rock solid, I thought. And having one thing that a lot of worker placements don't do is that most special cards you get in this game put a character out there somewhere on the board, and the next person to visit that spot has to deal with something. So I like that. Space pirates and things like that. So Asking for Troubles is my number 9. Pretty neat game.
My number 9 is a game that I would probably not really normally gravitate towards at all.
Card game.
Especially, well, it actually is a card game.
Obscure game.
And it is...
Euro game.
No, I don't think it's an
Themeless
obscure game. It's a
Abstract
newer game. It's a card game, and it's about bird watching of all things. And I did not think that I would actually enjoy this game. It's called Birds of a Feather.
No way.
Really?
I enjoyed it. I asked to play it immediately right after the first time we played it. Wow. So I enjoyed it.
You were real giddy. I remember that. The giggling.
I was not giddy.
And the high pitch.
Shut up. I was not.
Bird watching is fun.
Look, Mommy. No. It is actually a neat mechanic, putting all the cards out there, flipping them over, and then putting another card out there the second round, and you can score all of those cards. That's a neat little mechanic. It does come with a very intricate app.
Yes.
It's amazing.
What an app. What an app.
I'm sensing sarcasm here.
No, it is a little bit sarcastic, but it is a functional app.
The app is a score. The score sheet, they give you a pad of scoring sheets in the box.
Right.
Or you can download the app.
Yeah.
And the app is just one score sheet. You touch it, and it fills in the bubble for what you scored.
You know what? That's not a bad idea because people always say, well, what happens when you run out of score sheets?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
No, all kidding aside, it is actually a great app.
It's a very functional app, and it's a very,
I still can't tell
very
how...
cool thing that they are actually putting it out there, not just making you use the paper. I really do like it.
We all did use it, and we were laughing about the app, of course, because it's like, ooh, download an app. But everybody enjoyed the app.
Correct.
Because it really was very quick,
Yeah.
and we played multiple times in a row, and you can just, boom, reset it and start again. So it actually helps.
So basically, the whole game, what you're simply trying to do is you're trying to find as many different individual kinds of birds on these different rows. And the more birds that you find on your rows gives you a higher point column. And if you find all of them, you get bonus points for that row. So it's a really interesting game. I did not think I was going to enjoy it at all. It was just one of those games that Zee brought it. He has to play through it. Let's go ahead and help him out type of thing. But I actually really enjoyed playing it. So that's Birds of a Feather. If you haven't checked it out, please do. You might like it.
I might have to give this one a try.
Number 8.
All right, my number 8 is a game that, again, it's one of those things that came out from a company I was not expecting. The game looks strange. It's that combination of ideas, and the game is called The World of Smog on Her Majesty's Service.
Oh, yeah.
This game came out from...
Cool Mini or Not.
Cool Mini or Not, that's right. And it's this massive box that they're used to, but it's basically an abstract / Euro game kind of game that feels alien to me. I don't know what it is. The game... It seems of another world a little bit.
Well, maybe it's because these freaky little statues are staring at you.
Yeah, it's like really disturbing little busts.
Oh, welcome to our world. You can never leave.
Yeah, and the whole game play is very abstract, ultimately. The game is covered in coppers and bronzes and gold foiling, and it is just... It's gorgeous, but man, what a bizarre game. And the first time I played, I was like, this game is just weird. It's freaking me out a little bit how strange it seems, but the gameplay is solid. It's a very well put together game. It's engaging. It feels grandiose and unique while being very simple to play. I like it a lot. And that messed up title is The World of Smog on Her Majesty's Service.
On Her Majesty's Service would probably be the catchphrase for it.
I just call it Smog.
Yeah, some people use the smog part, some people use the other part, but I think that's the whole title.
Yeah, no, it is. I actually thought about putting that on my list, but it was a little bit too puzzly.
Yeah.
For my taste.
Right.
I did enjoy it for a puzzle game, but just missed it.
Cool.
Just missed it. My number 8 is a game called Above and Below.
Really?
Yeah. I usually do not like these tale-telling games where you have to
I would never have guessed.
read out of a book. And I mean, not that I have anything against reading, and not that I have trouble reading.
Extra!
It's
Healing says reading is bad.
It's just when I'm playing a game, I don't necessarily want to do that. I think the furthest extent that I'm comfortable doing that is probably the Crossroads cards in Dead of Winter. That's probably the most.
Or the Arkham Horror Eldritch.
Yeah, I guess
cards.
so.
There's a
But
lot of
again,
text
that's
on
just a
them.
card. That's not a couple paragraphs, which is in most of these things like Tales of Arabian
Yeah,
Nights.
there's not a book with...
I know what convinced you on this. It's listening to Jason read the paragraphs.
Yes, that is exactly what did it. Not at all.
Is there an
Anyway,
app with this game?
no, there
That's
isn't.
what did it all.
I just really enjoyed the game. I liked the look of it, although it had a weird kind of design to it. It's what's the guy's name?
Ryan
Lockett.
Yeah.
Lockett is how you pronounce his name. And he does great artwork. This one is a little bit darker than he usually does it. Probably because of the whole below aspect. You're below ground and there's less light and all that kind of stuff. But it still looked cool. It just kind of looked off for him only specifically. But I really enjoyed the gameplay. I did not mind the storytelling aspect where you had to read a very short paragraph out of these different things. And the reason I think I liked it a little bit better in this is that it was more of a kind of choose your own adventure type of feel that had the paragraph read, the culmination, and then the two choices that you had. And so it was, it fit thematically. It wasn't like, okay, let's stop the game and read for a while. It was, it fit well into the concourse of the game. So that was above and below.
That's one I gotta get played. Very excited.
All right, my number 8 is One Night Ultimate. Actually, One Night Revolution. Sorry. The fact is, when you make so many games that are the same style, you tend to think, it's not going to really bring anything new to the table. And Ted Alspach has, he did One Night Ultimate Werewolf, and then, which he actually didn't design, but he modified after Werewolf, and then he did the Werewolf Inquisition, and just when I heard One Night Revolution, like, oh, they're combining Resistance and One Night Ultimate Werewolf. That's not going to be a good combo. It's just going to be whatever. And I played it and really liked it. I liked it better than One Night Ultimate Werewolf. I felt that it was more of a game there. There's more of just trying to figure out who everyone is. You can figure it out by saying, okay, I tapped you on the shoulder at night. I did this and that, and figure it out together. And I really liked it. So much more that I'll still play One Night Ultimate Werewolf because my kids love it. But I'd rather play One Night Revolution. I did not expect it. I was looking for a retread. I have to say I'm kind of going into it the same way. I think they're coming out One Night Ultimate Vampire, and I'm still thinking that's gonna be another retread, right? I just have this feeling, that's what you expect.
One Night Ultimate Frankenstein.
That's next.
One Night Ultimate Zombie probably. But anyhow, I was surprised. It's a good game. One Night Revolution.
Number 7.
My number 7 is a game that, if I'm not mistaken, is from Spain, and it is the game is called Watson and Holmes, and it is one of several games this year that have sort of taken this it's very unique path through a game, and in this one, not unlike the old Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective, you are trying to puzzle something out by visiting specific places on this map, on the board, made up of simply face-down cards, jotting down notes, trying to solve a case, and put it all together, go to one last card, answer the questions, and try to win.
So there's a specific number of cases in the box?
There is, right. So again, it's one of those games that, as seen this year, very obviously, is sort of like a self-nuking game. It will run out eventually, okay? That's okay, I don't mind that, but it's been an interesting trend, I think.
Money grab.
Money grab, right. And I really enjoyed it. I have not played Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective, but from what I've heard of it, from what I've seen of it, this to me seems like the slightly gamier, as in it has mechanisms, but also more bite-sized version of that game. It's a
How long
little.
does it take?
It took about an hour, maybe 45 minutes to an hour.
Oh, that's interesting.
It's a little shorter than what I've heard. Again, the other one is, and it just seems a little easier to process because you'll visit a card, you'll read that one card, take some notes, put it back down. Then you'll go somewhere else. Sometimes you have to fight for a spot, and so there is an outbidding mechanism. You can spend these tokens if someone is already there to make them go somewhere else, and they can spend some back. So there's some mechanisms there. But I really enjoyed it. I thought it was fresh. I thought it was interesting. Very engaging game. That's Watson and Holmes. If you like that style of game at all, look into it.
All right, my number 7 is our first crossover. If I was playing Time's Up where I could only give one word for this game, I would say orange, and then you would get it. And that's Asking for Troubles. And I agree with Zee. I have to say, when I went into it, I looked at it, I was like, oh, this game's all orange. It's a Kickstarter. Yay! Yeah. I'm not expecting much here. But it was really fun. And I was also pretty happy because both of my oldest daughters really enjoyed it. One's a gamer. Of course, I knew she liked it. But the other's not a gamer. And she still enjoyed it because it's very straightforward.
Right.
Go here. Get this. Go here. Turn that in for points. But my favorite thing about the game was the fact that you can upgrade how well a spot works for you. Like, hey, every time I go to this spot, it gives you like some crystal. But now when I go there, I get 2 crystals. And then now when I go there, I get 2 crystals and some money. That's a really neat idea. You can make one spot like, yes, whenever I go there, blah, but all the other spots aren't worth as much for you. So you have to decide how to do that, or just spread them out and make them all good. That's one of my favorite parts. I don't think I've ever seen any other game do that. And it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was really clever.
My number 7 is a game called Automania. Automania. It's a game that I did not think I was going to like it because of the way it looked.
Oh,
It
Sam,
looks-
ye of little faith.
It just looked very cartoony. It looked very...
You're not alone in thinking this. There's a lot of people who have said they
What if
won't
you
play
play a
because of
little
the
like app music in the background?
What is with you and the apps, dude?
No, but
You're the one who brought up that bird game.
I guess. What were you going to say?
I'd say the artwork looks like the artwork for an app, though, actually.
Yeah, it does.
Looks like a kid's game.
It does,
from the
actually.
look
It
of
looks like a kid's game, correct.
Yeah.
I mean, it just didn't look like there was going to be much there at all. But as we went through playing the game, putting together the little cars and making them onto the ships and choosing which market you're going to sell in, the eastern or the western market, and all of the different bells and whistles that you could put onto your car and how many stars you're going to score for it, that was actually a pretty fun game. And it was enjoyable despite how juvenile it looked.
Looks cutesy, I think it's
I guess you could say that.
Right.
But so I really enjoyed the game, and I'm usually not one to enjoy that vein of games where it's just a mad grab for points in different ways. I don't know. That, I guess saying it that way encapsulates a lot of different games. But
That reminds me of another game Sam liked this year.
what's that?
Right. A mad grab for points, really? Kill me! Points. I went to Valhalla. Points. Yeah, that's right. Keep going.
Yeah, we'll talk to you later.
Ooh.
Number 6.
Number 6 is one of those games that another year might have made my top 10. But there were so many good games this year. This one was a stock market game. Did not expect much from it. Again, another Kickstarter game. So I always go into those thinking, oh, it might be good, but needs some polish. This one is very polished, and that's Stockpile. Stockpile is a fast stock market game in which you have insider trading knowledge, I guess. So I guess you're kind of a corrupt stock market person.
Thought about
It's
that.
almost a oxymoron. A fast stock trading game.
No, but it is, and that's the thing. I mean, because normally these games are long and drawn out. This
Very
one,
dry, also mainly.
right? But this one goes very quickly. Every turn, it has that Amun-Re bidding mechanism, which I liked. I mean, I played it, and I was like, let's play it again, and then let's play it again, and
Game
in my
that comes with
collection.
a bottle of water.
What's that?
The game that comes with a bottle of water. Because
Sometimes
it's so
they
dry,
should,
you
but
must drink.
I agree with Tom on this one. This is pretty good, and this is even less my genre than his.
Yeah, I was worried
You know,
when
I
you played
really
it
dislike
because
stock market
Yeah.
games, and this is a good one. So yeah, good choice.
yeah, this is one of the best ones. And I mean, usually these stock market games are all like, all right, well, you can go here and then do this, and it's all this complications. And I can enjoy that, but sometimes I want very straightforward, buy low, sell high. This game does it really well. That's Stockpile.
All right, my number, we're on
Six.
right? My number 6 is probably the least, or the worst named game of the year, in my opinion.
Well, you already said World of Smog.
And it has already been mentioned once in the list. This is our second crossover.
Oh, then this must be my number 10.
And this is Star Wars Risk. Really?
Does it have a question mark in there? That'd be
It
hilarious.
should.
Star Wars Risk?
Should. We're going to use this because it's got a huge following of the IP,
I'm
but
going to go to the
it
store
really
with question marks and
isn't.
slap about all the
Stick them on
boxes.
everyone.
I'm saving
Question
people.
marks. It's so not Risk. Why did they put that title on there? It just doesn't make any sense except for that.
Well, I think that this is these marketing guys, because Hasbro's so big. There's the guys who designed the game, then they're here. This is a game about blowing up the Death Star. Sounds like Risk. Star Wars Risk. And then they package
You
it
roll
up.
dice at all? Yes, that's Risk.
Sir, quiet you.
Yeah, but sir, I've actually played this. Shut up.
I love this company.
It is actually a really fun game. We enjoyed it immensely playing it, and I'm just waiting for the opportunity to play it with my sons because I think they will like it as well. Blowing up the Death Star is just one of those iconic things that you can do in in a game that come from a movie. And
Yeah,
it's
come on now, it's just amazing.
the fact that it's the second Death Star, that makes it even cooler because
Wait, there were two of them? I'm not being facetious. There were two of
yes,
them?
you are. You are being.
There was one in the
You're
first movie that they
trolling.
blew up, and there was one in Return of the Jedi.
He knows.
They're rebuilding
this.
one. That's right.
He
No,
knows
actually, I
this.
did forget that for a second.
No,
You're
you
right.
did
You're right.
not.
Okay, there were two.
Weirdo. Man,
You're
always,
banned from seeing a new one.
I want to say
always
it.
trolling my stuff, man. What's wrong with
I
you?
forgot.
Anyway, the surprise of the year. First of all, surprised that it said Risk on the outside and it was not on the inside. Second, it was a Star Wars mass market game that was actually really cool. So that's Star Wars Risk.
Oh, quotes. That's better than the question
Yes.
mark.
Risk. All right, my number 6 is a party game, a trivia game, and one that really came out of left field. I'm pretty sure both for me and for Tom. This is called Giraffe-O-Meter.
Ah, yeah, this made my short list.
Giraffe-O-Meter is this
Or is it
very simple
Giraffe-O-Meter?
game.
It is. It's Giraffeometer. But go ahead.
Well, yeah, okay,
It's like a
Giraffe-O-Meter.
speedometer,
Thermometer.
thermometer,
You're right.
Giraffe-ometer.
Giraffe-O-Meter, okay. Giraffe-O-Meter. In it, you are going
Glad
to
we spent
play...
time on that.
Huh?
I said I'm glad we spent time on that.
Yeah, no, that was useful. You put out 6 cards with facts. All the answers are numerical. They're on the back of those cards. And every player votes on what they think is the highest number and the lowest number. If you're right, you get some points. You play to like 6 points. Boom, game's over.
It's all about
Very
giraffes.
simple. It's all about... No.
Has nothing to do with giraffes. The game. I don't even know why the game's
it's
called.
like, I don't know why it's called that. It's like a made-up measurement.
Second place for worst named game of the year.
Yeah,
There might be more.
and I really like it. It's very similar to Wits and Wagers a little bit, but simpler. It's clever. It works well. It's a good party game, and like a low-key party game. Not, shouting and standing up and drawing frantically, but like sit there and go, that's probably really high of a number, that kind of thing. I really enjoyed it. So, my number 6, Giraffe-O-Meter. Did I get it right that time, Papa?
No, you didn't. You messed it up again, just in a different way.
Giraffe-O-Meter.
Number 5.
My number 5 of all the game licenses that are out there, or all the kinds of games that are out there, this is the last, absolutely dead last that I can think of off the top of my head that I would want to put a Star Wars veneer over.
Oh,
And Star Wars Carcassonne came out this year.
actually, there's also Star Wars Quirkle.
Again, I said off the top of my
Wow,
head.
okay.
Now that you've mentioned it, it is second to last. And I had absolutely no expectations for this game whatsoever. Carcassonne is a game that I hold near and dear to my heart because of you can watch the Thanksgiving Blender for reasons why. And you'll also understand why I have so many different Carcassonne games. But Star Wars Carcassonne is like, huh? What? Why would you do something like that? It actually introduces a new mechanic that is neat, where you can battle people for different planets, and there's a little bit of conflict in an otherwise doesn't lack conflict at all, but it's definitely light on conflict. So it ramps up the conflict in Carcassonne a little bit, and I actually enjoyed that a little for what it's worth. So I enjoyed it enough to where it made my number 5 on my surprises list because, again, it was more of a surprise than the ones I mentioned so far. So that is Carcassonne, the Star Wars edition.
Carcassonne? Or
No, it's definitely Carcassonne.
Star Wars?
Star Wars? Really?
Edition?
Yeah.
All right. My number 5 is Perfect Alibi. Perfect Alibi is a deduction game. Came out of left field for me, and I've really enjoyed it. It is similar to the old Sleuth game. It's very similar to the old Sleuth game, with a couple of interesting twists. Some things are simpler in this game than in the old one, that Sleuth game. And some things are new and fresh and you would not think of immediately. Things like special powers like character powers that are not set for the whole game. They actually move around throughout the game. So you'll have the benefit of, some little boost that at some point someone might take from you and give you the one they've been using. Really clever stuff. And the rest of it is a deduction game with asking questions and taking down notes, that sort of thing, which I enjoy. I do like that genre of games. There's not too many. And this year, there's been a couple. And I'm really glad to see that genre not just, sit there and die on the vine, so to speak. So I'm glad to see these games coming back. And Perfect Alibi is a really good example of how to do that style of game. I like it a lot. That's my number 5.
My number 5 is Stellar Conflict. And this was mostly just because I was surprised that it even existed. And that was the reprint of Lightspeed. It's the one by Artipia Games. Mm-hmm. And where you're throwing cards on the table as fast as you can. It takes about a minute to play, and maybe 2 minutes if you're playing the long game. And then literally there's the short, medium, long game. 30 seconds, a minute, and 2 minutes. Wow, anyhow,
okay.
Once you're done throwing the ships on the table, then you measure them out, and the game comes with these long rubber bands to measure things out and see who shoots who, and it's over. Really fun. I always did like the original Lightspeed, but I had given up hope that it would ever be reprinted because I kept going to James Ernest and saying, "You're reprinting some of your less good games. Why don't you reprint one of the good ones?" And he kept saying, "I want something better or whatever." And this is better. It had special powers, nothing super complicated, but just having each faction's deck is a little bit different, and that works out really well. So, Stellar Conflict was a surprise for me.
Number 4.
My number 4 is a game that I think has a rather deceptive cover on the front of it. Makes it look like this is a fighting adventure style game, and when you actually play through the game, it's not really that well. Not really that at all.
This is really a lot of games. That hasn't narrowed it down at all.
The only one I'm thinking of in my head right now is that cube pulling one with the 4 heroes on the cover. Was that even this year?
Hyperborea? No,
Yeah.
that's last year. But yeah, that's like that's the worst example of that.
This is very similar to that, kind of. Because it is a dungeony fantasy. Right. It's called Warband.
Oh, yeah.
Warband. Oh. And now it has that...
Combat fight!
I mean, it has that combat fighting adventure cover, and then you turn it over and it's like... I mean, yeah, you're kind of combating things, but there's no dice rolling, there's nothing like that. It's basically just, these are the resources you're going to get. You can level up your characters, and whoever has the highest character in this gets to be the captain, and all this other kind of stuff.
Right.
And there's fighting, there's combat, yeah, but it's more of a Euro engine behind all of that fighting.
If the Warband cover was like Skyrim, then the gameplay itself is the pause screen. It's just
a terrible analogy.
No, it's like just a screen where you get to like manipulate stats and stuff.
Oh, you mean the inventory screen?
Yeah, whatever.
The pause screen where you're like
you're just like
some turn.
No, you're like just messing with the stats and stuff.
Hey, you spend a long time on that screen, I bet.
Yeah, you do. But that's what I mean. That would be the game.
Yes.
Whereas the cover makes you think you're like playing and running around the world, right?
Exactly,
yeah.
right.
I think he played Skyrim yesterday.
He may have, yeah. But anyway, it was a pleasant surprise because it was almost ooh, wow, look at this game. Let's try it out. And it's like, oh, it's not what I thought it was, but oh, hey, this is pretty cool. And so there was a little bit of give and go. I was on this game because I was really let down that it wasn't the kind of game that the cover makes it out to be.
Yeah.
But then the actual game that it was fun. It was interesting. Yeah, so that's Warband. It has a
Against the Darkness?
Against the Darkness, yes, correct.
It's a good one.
I think the theme this year is games that have terrible names. I think this game has a bad name because it just sounds like something different, and that's Super Motherload. That's just, I don't know. The game it doesn't make me think about, the game is essentially Dig Dug, the board game.
You should have gotten that license.
I would call it something else, like Mining on Mars or something, because that's what you're doing. You're mining, but it's a deck building game where you're just trying to get jewels. It's very simple as you're placing these mines down. Everyone's working with the same mine, so you got to be careful when you put something down that you're not setting someone else up for something better. I was really surprised by this. I did not expect anything from this. The name Super Motherlode, the cover, it just was like some guys like looking at you, and I thought, no big deal. I played it, and I was like, wow, this game is really good. I was very impressed by it. Fast. I like deck building anyway. This was a good use of deck building because you want to get these gems to put better cards in your deck that are worth points, and you have to decide whether you want a card that's worth more points or a card that's very useful for digging purposes. Slightly asymmetrical too, which I liked. So that is Super Motherlode. I laugh. The name is just so silly.
That was definitely on my short list. That might have been my 11 or 12.
Yeah, because I know you liked it too.
I did like it a lot. All right, my number 4 is a game that is very... it's very politically incorrect, ultimately. It's a party game called Unusual Suspects. Yeah. And Unusual Suspects I've had great success with.
It doesn't have to be politically incorrect.
No, it kind of does.
No, it
kind of does. Some of the questions are like, boom, judge these people. Judge them now. And they're all drawings. So it's not like it's a picture of a person, you know what I mean?
I'm thinking about playing it with my version of Faces.
That'd be interesting. Wow. That'd be a little more hard-hitting. Okay. Anyway, the game is very, very simple. You are playing to figure out someone who did something. I don't even know what the crime is, but I think they stole a candy bar or something. And someone knows who they are in a grid of 12 cards. And then questions are flipped over and you answer. The one person who knows the answer, yes or no. And it'll be things like, does this person ride a bicycle to work? And you'll be like, no. And so everybody's like, oh, look at all the fat people. Let's get rid of all the fat people. And that's basically the game until they bust and they flip over the wrong guy or girl and you're like, oh, no, you missed it. Or you narrow it all down to one person. The laughs in this game, as long as you're okay with that kind of game, can be substantial. And I've really enjoyed this game. It's a good one to play with non-gamers because there's almost no rules.
It's like a cooperative, subjective Guess Who.
Yes, it's like Guess Who for adults, but co-op.
That is what it is, really, right?
It really is what it is. and surprisingly, that's really fun. So that is my number 4, Unusual Suspects.
Number 3.
My number 3, I think Sam will be surprised that it is not in my top 10. But again, that's how big the top 10 this year was. I played this game...
That was a surprise. Sorry.
I played this game in 2014 in its early stages and did not like it at the Cool Mini or Not Expo. So when it came out, I was not expecting to like it, played it, and loved it. And that's Rum and Bones. Whatever. That was very, very...
Why is it not in your top
very,
10?
very realistic. Convincing, I think, is the word I was looking for. Anyhow, Rum and Bones is a pirate game. It's a 2-player game. They say you can play more players, but it's 2-player. Where you have your pirates rushing at someone else's. It's based on the MOBA games, which stands for some online computer game. And
Massive Online Battle Arena, I think?
I don't think the first word's massive. It might be multiplayer.
Okay, multiplayer online.
But anyhow, people who play MOBAs know what they are. And this game does the same thing, but I really like the difference in the pirates. I thought the theme was really strong. It's one of the best pirate games I've ever played. It plays pretty quickly. There's a lot of dice chucking. There's luck, but there's also strategy, and there's just these hordes of people who get killed. You're normal pirates, but then you have your heroes who jump around. I really enjoyed it. Rum and Bones, my number 3.
My number 3 is a bit of a cheat, but it certainly surprised me with how much I enjoyed this game. This game is Fury of Dracula 3.0.
Yeah, that's a cheat.
Fury of Dracula
was definitely a cheat.
What were you surprised about? Like, oh, this game I already liked. I still like it.
No, the changes in this game are not only substantial, but going back now and looking at 2, I don't want to play that game anymore.
Ooh.
That's how substantial I thought the changes were.
That gauntlet has been thrown.
In fact, I burned my copy last night.
No, you didn't. You ran over it with a car.
I did.
One of those statements was true.
Anyway, Fury of Dracula 3rd Edition, I realize it's not technically a new game, but I think enough changed that I'm comfortable saying this was a huge surprise for me this year. Not only that it came out, that it was announced and came out and all of that, but having played it was a really interesting experience. And I thought the job they did in kicking it up a notch and streamlining it and all of those things was considerable. So huge kudos to Fantasy Flight for the job they did on this one. My number 3, Fury of Dracula 3rd edition.
All right, your turn. Is your number 3 also Fury of Dracula?
I think he's going to say it.
No, Fury of Dracula is not on my list because it was not a surprise. The only thing I possibly would have said is because I didn't like the graphic design, but surprise, I still like the game. Well, I already loved the game. Do you realize how poorly they would have had to done for you not to like the game?
No, if they had done the same thing, it would not have been surprising.
Okay, I'll give him that. What's your number 3?
Deal with that reality.
I'm going to deal with that.
Run over your Fury of Dracula with
My number 3 is Gold West. A game.
Wow, really?
Yeah, again, I'm not a Euro kind of person usually. I enjoy Euros. I just don't really fawn over them like other people do.
Oh, let's see what's up.
So, the Euro style nature of Gold West was, it was strange for me because it felt like a heavy Euro, but it didn't play like a heavy Euro. It doesn't burn your brain, but you still have what I would consider the same risk reward that a heavy Euro has. You invest your time into this heavy Euro game, and what you come out of it with, for me, is the same thing that Gold West gives you in a much simpler, streamlined, fun package.
Right.
So that's why it surprised me, because it looks like this Euro game. I mean, there's tracks everywhere that you have to keep track of stuff and all this other kind of thing. And it looks like it's going to be a difficult game, but it wasn't. And that's why it was a surprise to me. Not only that it wasn't difficult, but that I also enjoyed the Euro game. So that is my number 3, Gold West.
So for me, the thing about it is, which is what I've been saying about it, is that it feels like a classic Euro game.
Yeah.
Back when your games were rules light,
Right.
but strategy heavy.
Yes. Exactly.
As opposed to now, I don't know why that's a trend, but now they're strategy heavy and rules heavy.
Yeah.
You have to learn all this stuff.
You have to do this to get these. Well, why do I have to do it that way? Just because we say it.
Yeah, because it's more rules. This game is pretty rules light, but man, super engaging. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Another one I need to try.
Number 2.
All right, my number 2 has already been mentioned by Sam, and that is Automania. My number 2, again, he's right about everything. The look of the game is very cartoony, which really doesn't bother me at all. The look of that game, but I can understand it being a bit of a hard sell when you put it on the table and go, "Let's play this game, guys," and you're like, let's do this other thing. But get past that. And I think you're going to find a really rewarding, interesting. Again, it's the kind of game that, just like Gold West that we just spoke about, has that feeling of being streamlined while giving you a lot on the back end. It's a strategically rich game that's got a nice point of entry to it. There's not a lot of stuff you need to learn to start playing. But the more you play, the more you're going to see possibilities, and it's going to engage you. Really like this game.
That's cool.
My number 2, Automania. Solid.
My number 2 is a game that we just played on Saturday, and it rocketed to my inclusion on this list.
Whoa.
And that is a game that Zee taught us called Karuba. It was a surprise to me because it was really not even on my radar.
Wait, this is the Hava game?
Yes.
No.
Yeah.
This is hilarious because you are so hard to read.
This is my
We played this game on
surprises.
Saturday. Yeah, but not while you're playing it. We played this game on Saturday, and after we finished, I was like, "So, what you guys think?" Yeah, it's cool. That's
I
all
would
I
have
get.
told you if I didn't like it.
That's
though.
all I get. It's either like it's cool or no.
He was kind of mellow
That's
Saturday.
it. That's
though.
all I get.
He was really mellow.
And now it's number 2 on this list?
Yeah.
Dude, I didn't
Because
realize you liked it that much.
It wasn't even on my. I mean, we talked about it briefly when we were talking about games that we were looking forward to at Essen.
Yeah.
And I think it was on your list.
Very much so, yeah.
And it wasn't even close to being on my list. So I didn't have any investment at all in this game. You just mentioned that you needed to play it some more in order to review it.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, well, let's give it a whirl because I never played it before.
Right.
So
Next time, I expect you jumping around with if you liked it this much.
No, I'm not going to do that. So when we played the game, it was actually a really neat time. I mean, it was fun trying to get all your pathways, and the whole time I'm thinking, because in order to score some gold and some gems with moving one of your guys, you have to discard one of those tiles. Mm-hmm. And the whole game I'm thinking, I hope I don't need this tile later. Every time I discarded one, I was like, hope I don't need that. Okay, move. Okay, well, at least I got some points. But then there was a time where I knew, after I had all those pathways set up, okay, I can just discard.
Right.
But there's that tension that's there that I really did enjoy. I don't know about this.
Well, there's also the tension of the tile you discard. If it would have come into play with a gem on it, and you're discarding it, it's a gem you'll never get.
Right.
I really like that decision, yeah.
So my number 2 was a huge surprise to me because I usually do not like these kind of games. They're a little bit just too fiddly for me, but I really did have a good time on this one. Karuba, my number 2.
I was at the wrong table on Saturday. I feel like this
You messed up.
because none of the games I played Saturday made this list.
Of a feather, baby. I could have gotten that download that app for you.
All right, my number 2, triple crossover, and tie with Z is Automania.
Yeah,
What?
baby.
Thought for sure this is going to be. You've been really talking about this game.
I have been, and that's how good the year is.
Yeah, this year has been slam dunk.
Automania was probably my top 15 of the year, but I was not put off by the artwork as much. It's just that the game looked really simple. It looked very simplistic. Oh, draw some tiles, sell cars. And then I was like, ooh, on turn 1, you can sell a car? I don't have to, go out and dig for the mud to be able to start building the factory so I can eventually build a car in, turn 22.
Yeah.
I like that. You build a car, and the car, it just gets better and better, fast, easy. Certainly a bit of I put my car there. You can't do that. A little bit of that at each other's throat. Not too much. I think this game, with some marketing, could be one of the biggest games of the year. It's really well done. I think it will appeal to a lot of people. I know the covers put some people off, but I'm really enjoying Automania.
And finally, number 1.
All right, here we go. Rolling.
I'm all about them natural 20s. I got an 11.
Oh, 11. 16.
Got a 16, baby.
We don't need to roll off just because.
Yay!
3.
Second.
All right,
No, you
Can I
just
be second?
straight down.
I'm first.
Okay.
All right, my number 1 is a game that several of these games really are games that just missed my top 10 of the year, and this is certainly one of them. A game I've played quite a bit, and the big surprise here is the company that put it out. Again, the game is called The Grizzled, and it came out from Cool Mini or Not.
Wow, I thought for sure this was in your top 10.
Yep.
Just barely out. This was a really hard top 10 to put together. My top 10 of the year. The Grizzled is a card game about as simple of a card game components-wise as you can think of, and it came out from Cool Mini or Not, whose games are Rum and Pirates, Blood Rage.
Rum and Bones.
What did I say?
Rum and Pirates.
Yeah, that one. Rum and Bones.
You know what? I think another thing is when this game was first announced, it was shortly after the bombing of the cartoonist office that did this, and then they announced this game, and I thought almost in a sense that, this is kind of a charity thing.
Right. Sure.
We're going to throw out a game with the artwork of these guys. Not going to be a good game, but hey, it features their artwork, and that's a nice tribute to them. That's what I thought it would be.
Okay. Right. But and that is part of what the game does. But it's a good game.
Right.
Yeah. And it's a simple co-op game, a tough co-op game to win.
Have you won it yet?
I don't think I've won it. I've been close, but I don't think
won.
I've won. Did we win?
Yeah, we won at West Texas Tabletop.
We did? Okay,
Yeah.
well, we won one then, because I don't
That's the only game I played.
Yeah.
That's what I remember.
Oh, I see.
So
You
he's
played
never
one
lost.
time and you never lost. God.
I ain't gonna mess up that record, bro.
Solid game if you like co-ops at all. If you like the simpler side of co-ops especially, you got to check this game out. The Grizzled, truly solid little card game. My number one.
My number one is a rehash of one of my favorite games that
Here we
completely
go.
replaced my favorite game.
Dracula 3.
No, it's Mage Wars Academy.
Hey.
Here's the deal. When I went into Mage Wars Academy, they said, oh, we made a simpler game. And I was like, oh, yay, simpler game. I was happy with Mage Wars the way it was. I didn't think it needed to be simpler. It's a small box. There was no tactical movement. I thought, why would I want to do that? Then I played it and I was like, oh, I don't miss the old game much at all. And I've actually got some people on my case lately. They're like, well, I thought you liked the old game. I did, but it's kind of like when you played it, you're like, why was I playing that other one?
Right.
This was so streamlined and so quick and easy and simple. It's almost as if this was the game that should have initially started.
Right.
Then they would have said, hey, let's make a big, more complicated version. Oh, that's cool, but I'm going to stay with the base version. Mm-hmm. I like Mage Wars Academy. Again, this one, I didn't put this one in my top 10 because it is it's like 80% of the same mechanisms.
Oh,
they took the board away. But it is a solid change and completely replaced the original. I really like it, Mage Wars Academy.
Cool. That's a good pick.
It's also Sam's number one.
No, it's not my number one. My number one is it's third edition of Fury of Dracula.
He's kidding. Are you kidding?
Yeah, I'm kidding.
Sure.
I was getting ready to give so much garbage over that.
No.
Oh, I felt accepted there for half a second.
My number
Don't
one
ever feel that.
is a game that it has actually a very cool cover, and when I open the box, it's just another card game that has some board tiles that you use to put the cards on, and you're trying to fight the other person's battleship, and it's not really battleship, it's like a cruiser. It's called Starfighter, and it is
Oh, gee,
wow.
the Starry game.
yes,
That's two Starry games that made the
Really?
list.
and
Yeah, he really liked it.
I did not expect to like this at all. Played it a couple times on a Tuesday night. Played it again with one of my sons. Played it again with, I think I played with my wife. I played it again with somebody else in my family. I can't remember who it was. But we've all really enjoyed it. It's been a great hit so far. And it is a simple game that has some interesting mechanisms in it where you are placing cards down and half of that card is covered up and won't be revealed until the card that's on top of it goes away, and then whatever's underneath that card triggers. And damage is done in a really neat way, shifting your columns. There's just a lot of different things that come packaged in this little, just another card game. And I really did enjoy it, and I had a lot of fun playing it, and that's why it made the number one. Was not expecting to like this game, but it is really a good game.
You know,
Starfighter.
It's interesting. I think that's a game that's going to be lost in the shuffle of the year. It's unfortunate because it's a really cool game. I mean, you mentioned, I was like, oh yeah, and it came out like 5 months ago.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I noticed there's some themes here, like mass market games were better than we thought. Games from companies that made different style games, like Cool Mini or Not.
Yes.
Kickstarter games, which we still view with some suspicion when they come in. And so it was an interesting year, and I was surprised a lot this year. You would think we're getting kind of jaded at this point, but maybe the more jaded we get, the more surprised we are.
Yeah.
I like when a game surprises me.
Oh, absolutely.
It's great. It's the complete opposite when the game comes in. You're like, ah!
Mm-hmm.
But these come in, you're like, all right, I'll try it out. And then if you're Sam, you try not to show any excitement. Be like, that's pretty good.
This game was interesting. Number 2 on the best games ever
Had
list.
so much fun.
Alrighty, guys, tell us in the comments what your surprises of 2015 are. And don't tell us like, ooh, I discovered Settlers of Catan the first time. We're talking about games that came out in 2015. So tell us what you think. Tell us where we're wrong. Until next time, I'm Tom Vasel.
I'm Zee Garcia. Thank you, folks.
Sam Healey. See you on the flip side.